Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to be doing some testing on the indoor trainer to see where my fitness is at. After the last few weeks of not really doing any structured training, kind of dilly-dallying in the park and whatnot, I'm excited to see how much my fitness has dropped and see where my level is at today. Since I don't have access to a laboratory right now, I'm going to be using Insight to analyze my data. Insight is a company that has a series of tools to help you better analyze your cycling or running data. They do this by quantifying both the anaerobic and aerobic systems within your body and generating a completely unique model of your physiology, which means that today I will be doing 3 separate tests, each with different durations and intensity to try and isolate different systems within the body. The first one of those tests is a 20-second all-out effort. The second one of those is a 3-minute VO2 max effort, and the last one is a 12-minute all-out effort. So without further ado, I'm gonna go get suited up, get on the trainer, and start annihilating myself. Since I'm gonna be doing some maximal efforts today, I've taken on board quite a bit of caffeine, and it's all starting to hit right now, so I'm gonna hop on the bike as quick as possible and get these efforts started.
Hopping into the warm-up here, I'm just getting the legs spinning. I am using Zwift for this, so just pretend that little guy right there is me. As you can see in the top left, we have the workout plan for the day, so we have a little warm-up sprint, 20-second all-out effort, 3 minutes, and 12 minutes. And then here I am about to hop into the 20-second maximal seated sprint. You have to do 100 seconds without pedaling before starting it, and stay in the same gear the whole time. So that was the effort, not too bad, but definitely a little bit weird trying to stay seated. And then I hopped right into cooling down and warming up for the 3-minute effort. Threw up a little overlay here just so you can see the power I was doing throughout the effort. The 385 watt target was just a target. I didn't have the trainer in erg mode, so that was not affecting my cadence or anything. So this is about halfway through the effort now, and I was holding around 350 watts. My heart rate was pretty high, and you can definitely hear my breathing. I wasn't sure at this point if I was going to be able to maintain this for the rest of the interval, but there's just a minute 20 left, so I tried to push through. And then this is what the last 20 seconds kind of looked like. Pretty miserable, but trying to stay seated and do as many watts as I could.
That was brutal. Oh my god. My legs feel like bricks. I felt like I was absolutely at my limit, especially in the last minute there. I kept looking down and seeing that there was 2 minutes left. I didn't think I could maintain the same pace, but I think I stayed pretty consistent, which is good. Definitely used every drop of energy too, so I would consider that a maximal effort. Oh my god, my chest hurts. I used to breathing that deep.
Alright, hopped into another little cool down session before the final 12-minute effort. I'll be honest, this one felt pretty good for the first minute, and then about 3 minutes in I was already starting to feel the fatigue build up. I was definitely feeling my power start to drop, but I managed to rally during the last minute and push through.
Jesus Christ. That was horrendous. Whew. That definitely felt a lot harder than the 3-minute one. I got to like 4 or 5 minutes to go, and I thought I was gonna have to stop and catch my breath there for a second. I went out trying to hold like 310, 315, and then dipped down into more of the 280, 290. So we'll see what it actually came out averaging to. I definitely feel like my threshold's gone down significantly since I stopped training, which makes sense. So it'll be exciting to see what the software says it's at right now. I'm gonna cool down for a little bit longer, then hop off the bike and run this through the Insight software.
Okay, before we dive into the results from the tests I just did, I want to quickly say something about testing. If you're going to go out and do a VO2 max test, or do any type of test for that matter, make sure you're actually going to use the results from that test to benefit your training. There's no point in going out and doing tests if you're not actually going to use the data. It's not about collecting numbers, it's about actually using them to inform your training and make better decisions. So as you saw, I did 3 separate tests today: a 20-second seated sprint, a 3-minute all-out effort, and a 12-minute all-out effort. Each of those intervals were designed to test a different metabolic system within my body. The 20-second all-out sprint I did was meant to test my VLA max, or the maximum lactate production rate. This test isolates the glycolytic system, which is heavily reliant on carbohydrates. The 3-minute test was basically designed to max out your aerobic potential. Aerobic means breaking down energy using oxygen, and the software is able to estimate your oxygen use based on your power production. The last test is a 12-minute all-out test, which is designed to test your maximum lactate steady state, or your threshold. All right, hopping into the test results. So for the first 20-second all-out seated sprint, I did 641 watts. For the 3-minute effort, I managed to do 347 watts. And for the 12-minute effort, I was only able to average 282 watts. So I plugged these numbers into the software and let the analysis run. The first thing we see from the analysis is this overview dashboard. Each of these dials represents one part of my physiology, basically a snapshot of how my body is performing right now. Starting in the top left, we have my VO2 max, which shows the size of my aerobic engine, or how much oxygen I can actually use during exercise. Next, my VLA max. That's my glycolytic power. It reflects how strong my anaerobic system is. A higher number means I can produce a lot of power quickly, but it also means I burn through fuel faster and fatigue sooner. Then we have my anaerobic threshold, which is the balance point between where lactate production and clearance are in equilibrium. It's essentially the highest power I can sustain without gradually flooding with fatigue. Then we have fat max at 171 watts. That's where I'm going to be burning the most amount of fat for energy per hour. And below that, we have available glycogen, which tells me roughly how much stored fuel I have to work with before depletion. And last but not least, we have LT1, or the first lactate turn point. All of these together paint the bigger picture of how my aerobic and anaerobic systems interact. If we dive deeper into the graphs, we can see what these numbers actually mean. This first graph shows how oxygen demand continues to rise as power increases, but oxygen uptake levels off after a certain amount. That point where uptake starts to flatten is where I'm reaching my aerobic ceiling, the maximum amount of oxygen my body can use efficiently. Beyond this, the muscles still need more oxygen, but they can't get it fast enough, so the body starts relying more on anaerobic energy pathways to keep producing power. The next graph shows lactate behavior, how it's produced, cleared, and when it starts to build up. At low intensities, recovery keeps up easily, but once power increases, lactate begins to accumulate faster than it can be cleared. The point where those lines cross marks my anaerobic threshold, the balance between sustainable and unsustainable work. The last graph shows fat and carbohydrate combustion. The green line represents fat use, which peaks out around my fat max and then starts to decrease, showing where I'm burning the most amount of fat. As power increases, the orange line rises, showing a shift towards carbohydrate use, a faster but more limited fuel source that's hard to sustain. So what do these results actually mean? Well, when comparing my test results now to my test results from earlier this year, we can see that my aerobic engine has decreased. You can see this by looking at the drop in my VO2 max, as well as the gain in my VLA max, meaning I'm more reliant on carbohydrates, and my total aerobic engine has decreased in size. My January test set the foundation for some of my best power numbers over the last couple seasons, where I went on to hit 1045 watts for 5 seconds, 402 watts for 3 minutes, 335 watts for 12 minutes, and 317 watts for 20. And while it might be hard to look at these numbers positively right now, the good news is that it's all trainable.
This test is a measure of me essentially at my lowest, and now I can use these numbers to help inform myself and build a plan to rebuild my fitness. This means I have an accurate representation of where my training zones should be and what physiological systems I should focus my time on. Now that I've done this test, I can update my training zones to build accurate workout programs, easily track improvements in my fitness, and target specific variables to improve during my training. This test offers so much deeper insight than just a basic FTP test and really helps map out your unique physiology. If you're interested in doing a test like this, feel free to check out my website or reach out in the comments below. Thanks for watching.